That's where the juice is. It's a recipe for success. There's just a few numbers there. You look at them, you get them right, and it's hard to lose.
On today's episode, I interview Travis Bossy from Focus Albury in New South Wales in Australia. Now, Travis is a member of the $1 Million Tradie coaching group and has made a massive improvement to his business over the last 18 months. Now, Travis is a really smart operator who has grown significantly despite challenging economic times. And he's grown in a way that allowed him to grow his lifestyle freedom for himself and his family. And there are a bunch of powerful lessons from Travis in this episode about doing the basics of business consistently, because that's what makes the difference.
To hire someone good, it's not that hard, all right? To be a good employee, just be good at your job. You don't have to be the best, you don't have to be the greatest, just be good. And that might be 8 out of 10.
Now, don't miss this episode. If you want to discover the real-world strategies that can unlock your business profits and create a better lifestyle. They say success leaves clues, and on today's episode, I interviewed Travis Bossy from Focus Albury in New South Wales in Australia. Travis, welcome, mate. It's awesome to have you on the podcast today.
G'day, Tony. And listeners, how are you all today?
Yeah, doing good, man. And I think we're going to have a good time. This is going to be super useful if you're listening. So tune and buckle up because there's some great lessons from Travis and what he's been up to in his business. I think, mate, just to kick off, to give the listeners some context, can you tell us a little bit about your business, the type of work you do, the type of clients, the team, and some background?
Yeah, sure, mate, sure. So we were actually founded as Focus Electrical, but then changed to Focus Albury. That's another story. Back in 2011. Yeah, we're what we consider as electrical contractors, but we work in the residential and light commercial field. We also do a little bit of real estate work. In the resi side of things, it's like your mum and dad sort of work. Then also up into residential and commercial builders, developers. That's our stuff. That's our jam.
Nice, man. What's the size of the team at the moment?
Okay, so we got myself sitting at the top, and then we've got 3 office staff and 7 field members.
Nice. Okay. Good stuff. So I was going back through the notes when you joined the coaching program. I think it was early 2024. And it makes some interesting reading. Life was tough. Can you tell us in your own words what business and life was like then and why it was important for you to make changes and get some help?
Yeah, sure. So first things first, I think that was recorded, wasn't it? That introduction with Finn I had.
I think it was.
Meeting. Yeah, so If you ever want to laugh, I think it's probably worth watching it. Finn always carries on about it. I was blasé and naive and Mr. Cool and all this sort of stuff. So hopefully that never comes up at a boot camp. It probably sounds like a broken record, but because I imagine a lot of people were in the same position. But it was chaotic. The old, to turn the phrase, wearing too many hats. There was definitely a lot of that going on. It was just, I was the admin, I was the ops manager, I was a field member, I was estimator. But like I said, it's a broken record. That's exactly what everyone was doing. So,
and how was that affecting you as a person, and then affecting your family?
Look, you're spinning the wheels, man. You're just spinning, and you're thinking, look, I wrote down like a couple of things here. Was like 2025 was 1.4 million in rev and 10K net profit. Okay. The year before was 1.2 million and I lost 28 grand for the year. So I was sort of looking at it going, really? I'm working my ass off and I'm either making $10,000 for the year or losing money. Like, surely it's got to be easier than this. Yeah. So for me, there was definitely there was a cog that I knew was missing. I'm smart enough to at least know that. For my family, I suppose, look, I was never a guy to come home and bring my problems home or anything like that, or argue with my wife or anything. We never argue. For me, it was about not knowing where financial stability sat for my family in the future. I thought maybe if I do this for 10 years, am I still going off those figures, if I do it for 10 years, I might make 50 grand. And hell, there's easier ways to make money than do this for the next 10 grand.
Yeah. It's a tough gig for 10 grand. You don't argue with your wife anyway, because mate, she'll tell you what you're thinking. So
you can't win.
That's right. They're normally right. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So Travis, why did you get help when you did?
I'd have to say, I didn't know where the end was. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I was just treading water, and I suppose the water was getting deeper, or it was like a rip of the ocean. I was just getting pulled out, and I needed help. Really needed help. It got mentally pretty stressful and pretty hard, but definitely there was no mental breakdown or anything like that, but I just knew that I needed help, and because it was not the skills that I had, so I had to seek help elsewhere, which was you guys.
And I'm grateful that you did reach out as well, mate. What does business look like now? So, where's the business at now?
The last 6 months have been really built around foundational changes. We, the old analogy, you can't build a skyscraper off a residential footing. So knowing that the people that I needed to bring into my business, i.e., estimator, ops manager, get those guys humming. We needed to take some losses recently to be able to shift people into certain positions to be able to force forward to be able to make the big change, to see the benefits later on. So yeah, I'd say July we had to take a hit and shuffle a guy into full time ops because we were doing that cardinal sin of blended role. And then October we just ripped another band-aid and put a guy in estimating. But now we've got no more overhead hires for probably at least the next 4 to 5, which is super exciting.
Yeah. So you built a great foundation for moving forward. What are the results and the progress that you've made meant for you?
I suppose for me, probably knowing that I don't have to do everything. That everyone has got their role, and just like a sporting team, you're not a forward and a back and a goal kicker and a ruckman, depending on what your sport is. You've got to play your role. So knowing that we are structurally and foundationally building so that it's onward and upward, and that I'm in control of pulling the levers, but I don't have to manage everything. So that to get rid of that stress off my back is huge, massive.
Yeah, it is tough when you're running everything. And I think the point that you get to is you realize that if you are doing that, there's only a certain place you can grow to because nobody's superhuman, and you become a bottleneck through which everything must go. And that's, I think, when you talk about putting those key hires in place, that's about freeing up that bottleneck so that the pipes, if you like, are much wider, and,
Totally.
so there can be more to go through it, which is massive. Mate, just off a slightly different tangent, what do you like to do for fun?
For fun, so love the snow. Snow's good. I've always spent a lot of time in the snow, and now my daughter is into it, so that's going to cost me a fortune.
That's right.
But love spending time with it. They're little snow grons. So that and cycling. Love cycling. Yeah. I took it up about 3 years ago, and I'm jacked on it. Love it.
Nice. Yeah. Maybe we'll talk about that again a little bit later. So, mate, you've made lots of changes and you've done some things really well. So I thought we could focus on a few of those things that have made a huge difference, and perhaps we can share some of the wisdom that you've learned with the listeners. So you have made some really decent gains in terms of the revenue from when you started on this process. So what have been the drivers of the revenue growth for yourself?
The drivers for the revenue growth, yeah. Look, I've never advertised in the past. Besides some sign writing on the vehicles and a few banners here and there. So for me, the drive in revenue growth came from on-tool staff, and to put those on-tool staff, you need the guys to manage those. So just like the your phases of growth says, and it's phases of growth is 100% right. You guys know it's 100%. It's not partially right. You put your estimator on at about, I think it's 50K. You put your ops manager on around 100K. So those have been the biggest tools that I've used to push my revenue, because obviously all those different hires, which are really scary as we speak about, but they free up my time to be able to, pull in more work, pull in better staff. So yeah, I'd have to say, without sort of saying, it's advertising or marketing or sales or something like that, I'd say it's really just hires and structural changes.
It's isn't it amazing that we find this over and over again? Is for most business owners, they lack the capacity to grow. You actually need your tradespeople, your technicians. They're your factory, if you like. We're not saying they are a factory. They're people, and that's obviously massively important.
Yeah.
That's another. You need a bigger factory to do more work and to grow more revenue. And most people don't realize that they are so constrained by the fact they just don't have enough people, and they're losing all the opportunities. They're not getting to pricing work. They're missing out on the referral business because they literally just don't have the people to do the work. And when they put more people on, all of a sudden the revenue grows, even without much happening on the marketing front, which still blows my mind, but it's true.
100%. 100%
Yeah.
right, yeah.
And you were talking about the phases of growth. I think that's a really interesting thing. Obviously, we work with thousands of businesses. We can see there are certain points of revenue where you need certain people to grow to the next level. And so when Travis is talking about the phases of growth, it's at a certain level you need an office manager, otherwise you can't invoice out the work that you're doing. And then at the next level, once you've got 4 or 5 people out in the field, you'll need an ops person manage them. Otherwise, it's chaotic and you're left to do everything. And then at 150, maybe 200,000, I can't remember the exact figure, you need the estimator to actually price enough work to keep everyone busy and to get more work for growth. And so it goes on up the chain. So I think understanding that is a massive part of growth, isn't it?
It's a huge part of growth is to put those roles in place. But also, Tony, you touched on bottleneck. Now that's been a really big one for me, is those bottlenecks or those ceilings of complexity that you hit, and about realizing that I am the bottleneck. I mean, you see other bottlenecks that happen, and I don't have an estimator, I don't have enough staff. We actually had one just recently, and it was the hiring of the estimator. And it was the bottleneck that actually has kept me where I was for a long time. It was my automatic safety net of me being the bottleneck. And I had to really lean into discomfort. And, we're actually hanging out waiting for this month's, figures, P&L, to see, if that was the right lever to pull. And it will be, because the math tells me it is. But you've got to lean into that discomfort. And tell you right now, as I sit here and do this podcast, it is uncomfortable. I've made a move last month that was against what kind of like my beliefs are in a way.
Yep.
But that's what's held me up. And I know that if I stay the same, it's not, nothing changes, right?
And I think this is a struggle for all of us, even for us who've got a pretty substantial business as well, is that we have to invest in these people in advance to get the growth. And the only time you can afford the people that you want is when you have them. You can't afford it before you have them. And that's quite a mindset shift to make. But it does hold so many people back. And you're right. You don't realize you're the bottleneck. It's crazy, isn't it? You're almost blind to it.
Well, you are. And people, at all the boot camps, people just go on how the boss is the bottleneck. And you sort of fob it off and whatever. But at the end of the day, like 100% of people can't be wrong, can they?
Probably not. I'm sure it's happened, but not in this situation. Yeah. So Travis, Eamon's one of the coaches I know you've worked with. He's a good man, Eamon. And he commented to me that you're one of the most clued up people that he's worked with when it comes to business numbers. So that's a nice hats off to you there, buddy.
Thank you.
So if you walked into another contractor or tradie's business, what are the key numbers that you'd look to improve their profitability?
Okay, so I'd probably, first thing, we'd sort of look at some goals. We'd look at, do you have we'd have to look at goals. Yeah, and we'd have to say, well, what revenue do we want to get to? Or ask that particular, trade, where do you want to get to? And just do some quick sums, some really simple maths on working out, first of all, to have enough field staff to be able to get to that figure. Now, that's some really simple maths that you guys teach. 24 grand for a tradesman and 18K for an apprentice, ish. And that's always held me in pretty good stead, those figures. So that'd be the first thing. We go, do we have enough staff to actually hit that figure? The second, do we have the overhead hires to manage the staff to get us there? That would be my next. And then I've jotted down here, the next would be, say, rightio, we need to hit this back costing, work out what GP in dollars per hour is, labour utilisation, overhead recovery rate. Because those guys together is an absolute recipe for success.
100%.
Mm.
So let's talk about back costing. When you talk about back costing, what are you talking about?
Basically, looking at the figures, the GP margin of every job, looking at how well or bad we went, as far as our gross profit on the job, whether or not we won or lost, and to what level we won or lost. Also, speaking the back costing is one part that's obviously super informative, but without knowing what your overhead recovery rate is, or extrapolating that out to your gross profit in dollars per hour, that's where the juice is. That's where it's just like it's a recipe. It's just a
Yeah.
recipe for success, and there's just a few numbers there. You look at them, you get them right, and it's hard to lose.
Yeah. And I think GP per hour is a really critical one because you can do smaller jobs which are very high margin, which may or may not be the best use of your tradespeople or your tech's time. And so what it allows you to do, isn't it? You can compare different type of work, different clients, and see where the money's actually coming from. And I'm
Yep.
sure when you started to dig into your, the type of work and clients, you'd find that some were very profitable and some were not so much.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, yeah. We found some good ones and some bad ones. So yeah, we like to obviously serial bad performers we like to get rid of. But for me personally, we really lean into nurturing the bad clients first, because clients, let's be honest, clients are hard to get. So let's try to nurture them first. Generally, generally, some of our bad clients in the past, if I go and have a coffee with them or make a phone call, have a conversation with them and kind of explain to them that we both want to win and what success looks like for both of us, generally you can turn around a bad client into I'm going to say, well, it may not be a great client, but it might be a good performing client. Yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting how communication is massive in any relationship, isn't it? And
totally.
often it's about unmet expectations, or they just don't understand that perhaps the way they're acting is causing a lot of issues, and they're probably disorganized themselves and have a bunch of stuff going on in their own business, in their own life, which is causing them to be, how do we say, a little bit difficult.
Totally. Well, I suppose it's spelling out what success looks like. And you've got to do that with
Yeah.
your staff members, so why not do it with your clients?
So important, so important. So you've managed to grow your team from 4 people to 11 or so, maybe a bit more. Now, here's my question, because this is what people want to know. How have you managed to consistently hire good people when everyone else is saying there's no one out there?
All right. So first things first. All right, we've got like a no dickhead policy. All right, that one's pretty simple. I think everyone uses that one. Um, for us, we did a lot of work on Seek and with very little success, and I see that across the board, kind of with a lot of PT members, especially for looking for trades. Admin's
Yep.
very different.
Yep.
I was kind of beating my head against the wall. But the part that where I leaned into was the social media, was about becoming. I remember it rang in my ears. I think it might have been a webinar that Phil did, or something about being an employer of choice.
Yep.
To basically put yourself up there on a pedestal, and the best way to do it with the generation these days and the media that we have is through social media. So it was about just getting in people's faces. Where my wife was doing some socials and running these jokes, and they were all avatars of me and the guys, and we found it took a while. I will admit, it took 6 months, and it wasn't
Yep.
doing much. But you just keep picking at the scab, just pick at it, and poke the bear, and just poke. And it's only a matter of time, and things changed. And now we're finding that we put an ad out, and there's always a bit of interest there, and they're always good dudes or girls.
It's basically branding, isn't it, for your business? And the most
Totally.
important type of marketing you do is the marketing you do for hiring people,
Yep.
because they're the whole key to success. So this is massive. What else did you do apart from that kind of employer of choice thing? What else did you do from a practical perspective around the process or ads or all that sort of stuff?
Sure. Yeah. So obviously, once you get them in the door, you've got to hire them. You've got to hire them well. So we follow the PT process. Different questions to ask and those sorts of things, and obviously background checks, that sort of stuff. Look, when it's all said and done, Tony, is to hire someone good. It's not that hard. All right, to be a good employee, and you would know this because you hire plenty of them. But I've got some notes. Like we work. There's about 5 different things. Number one, just be good at your job. You don't have to be the best. You don't have to be the greatest. Just be good. Okay, and that might be 8 out of 10. Right? Work hard. That's all. If you're a 7 out of 10, but you work bloody hard, that's going to get you a long way in life.
Yep.
Get along with your colleagues. Number 3. Have fun. Get along with everyone. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy your workplace. Be good with clients. And the last one, simple. Just be kind. That's
a good
5
one.
things. Yeah.
Yep. And so you look for those things when you're going through that process of hiring.
Yeah, and we let people know.
Yeah.
We're not. You can't hire unicorns and superstars all the time. You don't get gun players on a footy field all the time. But, the old, was it team of champions, champion team?
Yep.
We know which one's going to win every time, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So I love what you're talking about there in terms of team culture and performance. Why have you focused on culture so much?
Well, as we all know, culture's king, mate. If you, and the old saying, if you enjoy your job, you'll never work another day in your life, will you? They don't have to enjoy it that much. I get it. But if you can, make a pretty enjoyable place to come, it makes life a lot easier. Also, probably for us, we focus a lot on retention. Now, the retention we build through progression paths that we build within our staff. So we have, if you're a first or a second year apprentice, there's not obviously much of a progression path just yet. Let's just get you through your time. But for my more senior guys and those guys that have come out of their apprenticeships and they might have been what we consider a sort of green tradie, is to either in your 20s or just have yearly catch-ups and have a chat to those guys about where you see them, but where they also see themselves, and create a progression path. It's the same as in sport, coming from the 2s to get into the 1s. You've got to say, hey, mate, you might just do a bit of bench time and you might put you in a back position and, but you'll end up being an on-baller, that sort of stuff. So it's definitely, and progression paths has really helped us with retention of some of my gun key players. Yeah.
What other things have you done from a practical perspective to help build the culture? I think you mentioned the 20s there.
So yeah, we've definitely got our 20s. We haven't found the exact perfect time for 20s. If it's, we started with weekly and then went fortnightly and then went monthly, and monthly seems to sit pretty good, maybe a little long. Weekly is a little bit too close. So definitely 20s. And
what are the 20s for the listeners?
20s just, well, I probably overcooked the 20s a little bit to start with because I thought it was this emotional journey I used to take my staff members on and find out where they wanted to, spiritually be in life.
Yeah.
But look, 20s is just it shouldn't even nearly be 20s. It's 15 minute catch up. Hey, what are your wins? What are your challenges? Those challenges, how are we gonna work on them to turn them into wins? And those wins, how we're going to get more of them. And then also with your KPIs, listing a few KPIs there, just to so they've got a little scoreboard for them. Yeah, so they know what winning's like.
Yeah, and it's basically you spend 15 to 20 minutes with your team members on a really regular basis, just to let them know that you're caring about them, that they're important, that you're talking about their future, and the best way to actually show people that you care about them is to spend a bit of time with them, just like family, really. And so it's a very powerful tool because most people never get any coaching of any sort from their employer apart from kick up the bum when something goes wrong, and
get very little feedback.
So
just feedback to them. It's just like, hey, buddy, you're kicking ass here, or you've saw that little slip up you had the other day. Just an accident. Doesn't matter, mate. It's okay. We'll fix it up. Let's go forward. But just feedback's massive.
And is there anything else you've done from a culture sort of standpoint that you've found that's worked well?
Yeah, social events. Yeah, got to do social events. Obviously alignment days. They're really cool. Like I think it was the module that Sarah did a couple of boot camps ago, just about talking about the soccer players and the goals and that analogy. That was really just so that you're setting everyone up for success and they know what winning looks like. So those, and definitely social events. I think I love social events because it breaks down the hierarchy barriers, and it means that I'm just an equal to an apprentice. You sit there and have a beer with them, or play a certain game, or have a hit of golf. Yeah, it's really cool.
Good stuff. All right, so Travis, you've done some really good work around your time and getting that under control and being more effective with your time. And I really love the Friday bike rides as well. That's pretty cool. So could you tell us a little bit about the bike rides and then maybe what you've done differently with your time?
So right, so yeah, I love road cycling. So the Friday morning is just with a bit of a bunch, a group of mates, and we ride for about 2 or 3 hours. But that one there in particular, it's really it's really important to me in the way that that's the one that no one can touch me. Okay, and the way I say that is that that one goes, because I'll tell you, Tony, my family comes first, no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter what, for business or anything. But the Friday morning bike ride is the one that I don't take my phone with me. So my workers can't get me, my wife can't get me, my kids can't get me, clients can't get me, friends can't get me. It's just me and the road and my mates, and that's for the grey matter, to be honest.
It's massive, right?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. Yeah,
huge. Yep, yep. So what did you do differently though to actually get your time under control?
Definitely, you've definitely got to be strong and structured, which is not my strong point. But with your default calendar or default diary, that's a real work in progress, I think, for everyone, and really hard to get right because it's so easy to get distracted by the shiny things and the little fires. But it is so important if you want a ride day like me, you've got to be really strong and structured and accountable with that default diary.
When you talk about default calendar, can you explain to the listeners what that actually is?
Yeah, so it's basically just can be your weekly or monthly calendar, but generally I like to break it down weekly. It's a little bit easier to stomach. Basically just lays out, for me, it's like 7 a.m. till 9 a.m. I take my daughters to school. That's 2 days a week. And then I get into the office on 9 o'clock till 10 o'clock a.m. on a Monday, and I review the P&L and the cash flow and labor utilization, those sorts of things. And yeah, and then it helps me. So it's basically just helps you block out your week, block out your days. For example, Wednesdays is my PT day. It's just full of PT. There's the implementation session in there. It also helps me block out the educational days on Tuesday and the Q&A that I do on Thursday.
Yeah. So it's basically almost like a budget for your time where you sort of set down in advance when you're going to be doing what so that you're on the front foot with your time rather than the reverse, which happens to most of people, is that you turn up in life and the day just happens to you with all the stuff that comes in. So it's basically, putting yourself on the front foot with it. Doesn't mean that you can't deal with things as they come in, but if you don't actually put those important rocks into your calendar, life has a way of never seeing them happen, I guess, is the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the epitome of probably being proactive and not reactive.
That's exactly what it is. It's a proactive plan for your time rather than just winging it and reacting to everything as it comes along. So, Travis, we've talked about hiring a little bit, and I really want to dig into that and building out your structure because that's really juicy. How important has been building out that organization structure been for your growth?
Super important. At the end of the day, building out that structure, it's pure maths. To me, well, that's the way I see it. But yeah, building out the structure of the business helps me focus my time on the areas that I need to focus it on, but also gives everyone their jobs to do so that we can grow. And it's kind of like the old, how to eat an elephant one bite at a time. So yep. Obviously, to look at things holistically can be pretty unnerving sometimes. So that when but I don't need to look at it holistically anymore. Admin, she's got her role. Ops, he's got his role. Estimator, he's got his role. And I've got my role. And that's not to discount, what probably doesn't get spoken about much in probably PT and business is that being a boss is a job. It doesn't necessarily have funny little KPIs attached to it, but it's a job. You've got to pull the levers. And someone says, "What do you do in your job?" You go, "Well, I just run a business." But it's a really important job and a big job. Yeah, that's how it's it.
Yeah, I mean, being a boss is a big job. I'd probably say it does have KPIs. It's called your P&L and your bank balance. So you have the ultimate. You have the ultimate KPIs. And I think that leadership that you provide as your team grows is absolutely fundamental to success. It's also, like we've talked about, it's being the keeper of the culture and making sure that everyone's understand the values, the way we do things, the standards that are important here is part of it as well. And holding your key leaders accountable, not in a way of kicking their butts, but it's like setting clear targets for them and then helping them see where they're achieving and where things are coming up a bit short, so that they can actually, make the adjustments that they need to. And so as you grow, and it's funny, isn't it? Because when you're small, uh, as business owners, we focus on getting jobs done, and as we grow, we focus on just helping the people get the jobs done. So you become more of a people focused
Yeah.
sort of leader than a task focused leader, which is kind of a bit weird. I certainly found that a bit difficult in the first instance.
Yeah, it's all tough, mate. So it's all definitely tough. But you've got to set yeah, if you set your goals and you make those really clear and you communicate those to your staff, it makes winning a hell of a lot easier.
So let's talk a bit about that fear of hiring back office staff. I know that that's a thing, and we've touched on it. It's like, well, I'm going to sink 100 grand into this person or whatever it is. You don't have to pay that all at once. Obviously, you'll pay them each month. That's the smart play. But how did you deal with that fear of hiring those people to build your structure when they don't directly drive jobs, as it were?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I got caught up on the old adage of like, all right, I'll save 80 grand and then I'll put on admin. I remember going to my
Yeah,
first boot camp. I think Phil had a spiel about it.
yeah.
And it hit me right between the eyes. It was just like, if you hire them first, then you create the time to be able to go and make money to pay for them. It's pretty simple. That works for admin. It works for ops manager. Guess what? Works for the estimator. It's on repeat. Yeah, that exact same system. Yeah.
And with the ops manager, it's interesting too, because we're like, oh, we're going to stick this money in there. But when we get to 4 or 5 or 6, or some people get to 8 or 10 employees, and they're still doing that as well as the pricing, you'll often find your margins will increase significantly because despite the fact that you're pretty good at what you do, you're spread so thin, you're juggling
Oh,
balls, things are dropping through the cracks, jobs are getting missed, prices aren't quite right. And so you get someone who's dedicated to it. You get the right person, and, that's not always perfect at the start, but you work on it. They can actually do a better job because they're actually focused.
totally.
And that's the whole specialization. And the same with the estimator, that they can actually price work all day.
We even noticed the crazy difference about exactly what you talked about when we had our ops manager, as I've spoken before, on the cardinal sin of blended role. The difference, his mental attitude, the difference in the work that he put out, the difference in the revenue, the difference in organization within the business, purely in the period where we ripped the band-aid off in July and said, all right, mate, I've done it for long enough because I was worried. Let's rip the band-aid. Let's do it. That next month, he was a new guy. The business was new. Everything was fresh. Nothing was getting missed. Yeah.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because we've done office admin, ops manager, estimator. We do all those roles ourselves, and we struggle. And then we hire someone like ops manager, make them ops and estimator, and then we
Mm.
wonder why they're struggling because they're trying to do 25 things as well, and they're probably not as experienced as we are. So that's a big learning, and we talk about those blended roles a lot in the coaching program, how they feel like they're a win in the short term, but generally speaking, in the long term, they actually just create another bottleneck. And often they can really upset your good people because they're not set up to win.
If you're not careful, you throw someone into a blended role and you'll actually lose them before you get to fix it because you'll burn them out. They'll be gone.
Yeah, yeah, it's a very smart observation, mate. So we talked about a bit of a dip in revenue over the last couple of months, and obviously this can play with your head. And I think we've all experienced this. How do you personally deal with the stress or the self-doubt that can creep in when you're making changes and perhaps experiencing a slow patch?
Sure, sure. So the dip that you're talking about is me shitting the bed last month, pretty much. But that purely happened because of these structural changes I made. I just went, you know what, we've got to rip the band-aid and just do it here. So it was calculated. I know exactly where I'm going, what I'm doing, but I had to hurt for a month. And before those structural changes. Now, how does that play with your head? Yeah, like I am the epitome of that guy that looks up the mountain. I'm that guy. That they speak about at every boot camp. Instead of looking down and go, man, look how far I've come. So how do we deal with it? Every now and then, I'm like, I'm not a big social media sort of guy, but on Facebook came up, your crew comes up, Tony. It's like, hey, your friend this person,
Yeah.
and so I've added a couple, and Jace Whitelaw came up. I
Weapon.
friended him. Yeah, absolute animal, beast mode. That guy. He came up, and click friend. You've got to be part of the community. Anyway, next thing he's reaching out to me on Messenger on I think it's a Friday night. He was finishing a workout at like 9:30 p.m. That is, and it was just it was a period. I think it was about 3 months ago that I was having a bit of a tough time because I'd made these changes and I'd actually gone backwards. I felt like I was going backwards, and I was sort of struggling to see the forest for the trees, to be honest. I just a few little things. There's a few little chinks in my armor, and he just gave me some good words of support. But then I think because I love his webinars, they're fantastic. I can really resonate with the dude. He's a really good guy. I remember just then I had a little bit of a stalk, and I went, "Say this, James, who is he? What's he do?" And so he's basically a mindset coach. I find out, and I lent in again. I'm not one to ever sort of poke and look for free help or too much help. So, but I lent in. I said, "Oh, so Jace, this is one area I'm really really poor at, and I need help. Can you give me a little bit of help? Is there anything you could just something basic just to get me started?" So yeah, he gave me a few tools, which I do every single day, and most of it's just about celebrating my wins because I'm a shocker at celebrating wins.
Amen, brother. I hear you on that. It's one of the keys to happy living, actually, because there's always more shit to do, and this is a big thing in business. It's never done. There's always more you can do. There's always a challenge that comes up, and so actually celebrating how far you've come and how well it's going, and the things that are going well, is absolutely critical to your mental health and to your ability to keep going forward as well. So that's pretty cool. Are you able to share what those little rituals are?
Yeah. But also just before we finish on that little part of it, is one of the really important parts is to celebrate the wins, not the you know what I did good on a job we did really well on a job today, but the guys probably could have got it done faster. It's just looking at the wins and just getting rid of the loss because we're not interested. It's mindset changes. It's shifting, right? Right. So my rituals. Okay. So it is basically around about 3 little wins for the day. Now they can be personal or business wins. It might be that I had a bike race and I went really well, or I went better than I thought. The next one is what is about 2 to 3 of what's different now than 6 months ago. So that's really good at looking in retrospect. And the last one is what I'm grateful for. And they're not cheesy euphemisms. They're just, it's not, like I'm grateful to have a roof over my head, that sort of stuff. It's just like, hey, I'm grateful to have my ops manager. He killed it today. Or I'm grateful that I got to take my daughters to school today. They're like the genuine ones that you've actually kind of achieved. Yeah.
I'm grateful that we got to talk today.
Yeah, me too.
And
this is
things
super
like
cool.
that. We do it every night too with our kids, and Bronwyn and I do it. It's it's a good antidote to stress and overwhelm.
Totally. Yeah.
It's so good.
We celebrate it with the kids after dinner. We're like, what's the best thing everyone did today? We just work our way around the table, and it's just, it's celebrating those wins, and it turns your mindset into a winning mindset, not a losing mindset. So you focus on the good, not the bad. Yeah, pretty simple, but massive impact.
Massive. So, Travis, are there any other mindset changes that you've had to go through to move forward with the business?
Yep. So everything starts with the end in mind. Okay, I think that's a saying that you guys use. So I don't want to steal that one.
Stephen Covey.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
So that really, the more I've done PT, the more that resonated with me because goals are so important. It's the old scoreboard analogy and that sort of thing. But you need to you've got to you got to pick where you're going, where you want to end up, to know the path, know how to follow the map. You know, so if you set the goals, I believe the rest will come from setting those goals. And then the last one is just like it's on those goals again, but it's the old thing where your eyes focus, your body follows.
Yeah, that's massive. Mate, is there anything else that you think is important for us to talk about growing a business and your experience that we haven't talked about yet?
No, look, I think you see all different types, especially at PT with the crew there. But I think everyone's got to realise, no matter how big or small your business is, and this is probably more angled at the smaller, is that every single person has been in your shoes. They've all been there. Everyone has had to hire their first estimator. So you've really got to lean into that vulnerability. It's really hard to get overwhelmed. Really easy to get overwhelmed. When you get into these Q&As and people are dropping CRM and JMS and all this stuff. You're like, what's that mean? You just be vulnerable. Something I've really lived my life by is like, when I have an apprentice and he's like, it's just a silly question. It's like the silliest question is the one that's not asked. So put your hand up and just go, hey, what's a JMS? Oh, job management software. You didn't know, because you'd be surprised. One person puts their hand up, but there's 5 other people that don't know too.
So true.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. That kind of links into to another question that I had is, how important has been getting outside help for you to improve your business?
Look, it's imperative, mate. It's imperative to get outside help, because I was a tradesman. I was an electrician. We're not business owners. How am I supposed to know what a GP and a net profit percentages and labour utilisation is and gross profit margins? I was taught to hone my skills with my pliers and my screwdrivers. Know where to put lights, that sort of stuff. Not how to run a business. So the fact that a lot of us have fallen into business ownership and management the same way. We just got good at what we were doing, and we've just found ourselves as business owners, but we're not business managers necessarily, and we weren't trained. So you definitely need to go and get help, and it makes a world of difference, because it just adds the next layer. And you know what? You put your tools down, and that part of my life's done. And this is another challenge, and this challenge is going to take me well into the future.
Yeah, it's massive, isn't it? Because I think all of us, we don't know what we don't know as well, and it's very easy to get locked into the way you've done things, and without realizing that actually there is not necessarily an easy way to do it, but other people have done it. So if they've done it, you can do it. I think that's the key thing. Sometimes we don't believe that, but it's definitely true. And one of the things I love about the community that we have here is that you can, as you said, talk to hundreds of other people who are further down the road. Some of them are not as far down the road, and that's great. You can encourage them, but the people who are further down the road really lights a path for us to follow, and it gives us a lot of confidence that we can actually do stuff and that we're on the right track.
Totally. And just a little saying that I learned from you guys as well, Tony, is that like comparison's a thief of joy. That one that resonates with me, I think, every day of the week. And that's why I started the mindset stuff, is because we do. Why wouldn't you compare yourself against someone that started PT with the same amount of staff as you had, that started PT with the same amount of revenue as you had, but now has 3 times more revenue? Why wouldn't you compare it? It seems like common sense. Everyone's, when you actually start digging down and you meet different people and you go, oh, that's the guy that had the revenue 3 times mine now. And then you hear, he's like, oh yeah, dude, I've got a $300,000 tax bill. So definitely don't compare yourself, because everyone's story is different, and everyone's doing their story at a different time. Like mine, I said my family's first, no matter what. So my business growth will always be slowed for the moment, because I've only got till my daughter's about 15, and then I'm going to become pretty uncool. So then in that period, I might really knuckle down and go even harder until I get it back at about 25. Yeah, but that's go at your own speed, sort of thing.
Yeah. It's a lovely phrase that comparison is a thief of joy. And the way I like to frame it is don't compare, but just use other people for inspiration. Use them to inspire you about what's possible. Because for me, for people in business and contractors, tradies, different trades, is often we've got so beaten down that we've kind of lost a bit of hope. And inspiration from other people it really gives you hope. And I think hope is a crucial part of growing your business and getting a better result from where you're starting from.
Yeah, and also, Tony, like you said, use them as inspiration, but actually in PT, go over to them and ask them. Be vulnerable. Say, hey, buddy, we started together and you're killing it, and I'm sort of not. Ask them, because they'll tell you how they did it. They'll help you, and they'll say, you know what? Yeah, I'm doing that good, but this is not so good. So lean into it. Be vulnerable.
Mate, this has been amazing. Travis, like I said, really grateful that we've got to spend this time together today. Excited about what you've done so far. Really excited about what you'll do, because business is a journey, and there's some amazing things to come, I think, for the foundation that you've built so far, mate. So I can't wait to see that, and keep up the great work, man. Really appreciate your time hanging out with us today.
Thank you, Tony. Thanks to the listeners. And I just want to finish on just how thankful I am. I remember, you probably don't remember, Tony, but I remember at my first boot camp in Queenstown in 2024, when we were having, I think it was a break on the last break of the first day, and you were standing at the bar, and I wandered over to and introduced myself. And I said, "G'day, Tony, Travis Bossy, just started the program." And I thanked you. I said, "Thanks for doing what you do, because it makes a difference." So yeah, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you and your whole team for what you guys do, because it makes a real difference to every household, and every time I kiss my daughters on the head at night. Yeah, it's part of the reason.
Man, yeah, thank you, and it's why we get out of bed too, man. It's a privilege and a pleasure. Take care.
Thank you.
Congratulations on being part of a select group of savvy business owners who are taking their businesses to the next level. And to help you on your journey, don't forget to check out our show notes for a copy of our free book, The Profitable Tradie, and other valuable resources. Thanks for being a part of this special group, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Profitable Tradie podcast.